Okay, today we are tackling something that is honestly incredibly painful, and yet it is totally misunderstood. Picture this. You're sitting right across from your partner. You're completely physically present, but you feel entirely alone. Nothing is technically wrong, nobody's raised their voice, but something in the air has just shifted, and the room has gotten quieter in a way you really can't quite put your finger on. It's an incredibly confusing scenario, and it's exactly what we're going to unpack today. And when that emotional distance hits, boom, you immediately start doing that thing again, right? That slow internal spiral. You start wondering, why does she pull away when I'm trying to get closer? Is she losing interest? Am I just not enough? What did I do wrong this time? It feels like you're chasing something that was never really yours to begin with. Look, if you're feeling this, I want to validate that right now. But what if you're told you that you are entirely misreading the situation? Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, the misunderstood pattern. Second, the nervous system reframe. Third, the 7 signs of obsession. And finally, becoming a safe partner. All right, kicking things off with section 1, the misunderstood pattern. So most people read a woman's coldness as a verdict. You see detachment. You think, well, the spark is gone, she's checked out, and I'm obviously not what she wants. But the real truth? It's disguise. When she acts cold towards you, the love hasn't actually faded. In reality, the love is so incredibly loud inside her that her whole system is desperately trying to keep it quiet. Her coldness is not a verdict on her lack of care. It's actually a mask hiding a deep, honestly terrifying level of investment. Moving right along to section 2, the nervous system reframe. To really get why she's wearing this disguise, we've got to look past her conscious choices. We have to look at how her body learned to love long before you ever came into the picture. Because when someone has been hurt, betrayed, or abandoned before, their body learns a survival strategy. Think of it kind of like a hypersensitive car alarm that goes off when a single leaf touches the windshield. Her nervous system is reading your relationship way before her mind can even catch up. The exact moment she senses this might actually be real, the moment your connection crosses this totally invisible threshold inside her, her old alarms start firing. Her system screams, pull back, protect yourself, don't let him see how much this means to you. She's terrified of what surrendering to love would cost her, so she stays guarded. And this brilliantly illustrates the core truth of this whole dynamic. Listen to this. Indifference doesn't require protection. Only love does. Let that sink in. The colder she acts, the closer she is to fully surrendering. That is not a woman who's detached. That is a woman who knows exactly how deep she could fall, and she is terrified of the landing. That brings us to section 3, 7 signs of obsession. So how do we actually tell the difference between detachment and terror? Well, we look at the behavioral evidence. Let's walk through the first 3 signs together. Sign number 1, she remembers forgotten details. You might think she's just keeping score, but indifference forgets. Obsession collects data because you are worth keeping. Fun fact here, studies actually show that heightened anxiety in relationships can drastically improve memory retention for small details. She is quite literally studying you. Sign number 2, she pulls away right when things start getting real. Notice that distance doesn't usually come after a fight. It comes after a perfect weekend, right? That's because her nervous system is simply overwhelmed by the intimacy. And sign number 3, she criticizes your habits. Now, I know criticism feels terrible. It really feels like rejection. But she's not out there critiquing strangers. She's critiquing you because her brain has decided you are the draft she's editing into someone safe to love out loud. All right, building on that, let's look at sign number 4. A woman who is genuinely checked out and indifferent, she doesn't monitor you. But when you catch her watching you from the periphery while you're talking to a friend, and she looks away lightning fast the very second you notice, yeah, that is obsession. She keeps you in her peripheral vision because you are the most important variable in the room. And she only breaks eye contact so quickly because she fears exposure. She doesn't want you to see that she cares so much, it's actually starting to scare her. Then we have sign number 5, that incredibly exhausting hot and cold cycle. You know how it goes. Day 1 is amazing. Day 2, her system panics, and she goes totally cold. By day 5, the radio silence finally makes her feel safe again. And then, on day 6, you get a random text at 2 a.m. Now listen, this is not a manipulative game. It's not mixed signals on purpose. This is a woman managing a war inside herself. Her attachment system is split right down the middle. The part of her that desperately wants you, and the part that is terrified of wanting you. She reaches out just enough to keep you close without losing herself. Now what's really interesting about this next point, sign number 6, is when she gets jealous but completely pretends not to notice. You ask her about it and you get this icy, I'm fine, I don't care. Listen to me on this one. "I don't care" from a woman who is secretly obsessed with you is literally the loudest phrase in the entire relationship. So why does she do that? Well, it's because of her internal smoke detector. Her nervous system honestly cannot tell the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. Showing you that she's jealous would mean handing you the power to hurt her. So, the smoke detector goes off, sounding this massive internal alarm, but she hides it entirely behind that icy exterior. And finally, sign number 7. This is when she acts like she's totally over you right before she comes back. Step 1, she tests the exit. She pushes a breakup conversation. Now, step 2 is where most men completely fail. They panic, they beg, they basically confirm her fear that she is dangerously important and could completely wreck you. But if you respond with a steady, warm, unbothered presence, you reach step 3. Her nervous system learns that she's safe. She wasn't actually leaving, she was just testing to see if the foundation could hold her weight. Which leads us to our final part, Section 4, Becoming a Safe Partner. Because once you finally realize that her coldness is just a disguise, the big question is, how do you respond to it with real maturity? So, the crucial point is this. Emotional distance in a relationship isn't like a wall. It's actually like scar tissue. It forms slowly over hundreds of small moments. And real intimacy? It isn't built in massive gestures. It's built in these tiny 30-second moments. It's the deliberate choice to stay steady and curious instead of pulling away when things get quiet. Look, these aren't some cheap tricks for decoding a difficult woman. They're a guide to showing up differently. First, stop taking her coldness personally. Just stop. Start seeing her distance as her nervous system desperately trying to protect itself. Stop chasing the emotional highs and panicking during the lows. Provide that steady, unbothered presence and truly learn to hear what is actually moving beneath the surface of her criticism and her distance. Which leaves us with this final, really powerful thought. Real intimacy doesn't just suddenly start when you find the right person. It starts the exact moment you make a choice. So the question is, are you ready to become someone safe enough for her to finally stop running? It's entirely in your hands to build that secure foundation. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.